I'm Lorelei Day, here with the city's Water Utilities Director, Allison Struby. Today we're here talking about the water in San Angelo.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Allison, let's start off with you telling us about the water, the current water supply and where we sit currently.
As of August 1st, we have 52 months of water supply, and this does utilize a worst case scenario. So it includes evaporation as prescribed by Texas Water Development Board for what this region typically experiences as far as evaporation. And then it also assumes a no inflow scenario, so no inflow is coming into any of the reservoirs. It uses 1.5 million gallons of hickory daily in that factor. And so as of August 1st, we're at 52 months of water supply.
Okay. Let's talk about our water resources. What are our primary water sources?
Currently, we are primarily on Lake Ivy. Lake Ivy is at 44%. And so that is our primary supply. That is a reservoir that's owned and operated by Colorado River Municipal Water District, or CRMWD. And we get that source from them. And then we supplement any of the peak demands that we see with the hickory at this time. We are able to bring in Contra River water via Lake Nazareth and Twin Buttes, but right now with evaporation, we are trying to keep the water in those reservoirs as much as possible.
So 2021-22 has been obviously extremely hot and dry. Can you tell us how that's impacted the water supply?
Like I talked about with how we do months of water supply, we factor in evaporation. So evaporation is definitely taking its toll on our reservoirs. For our area, Texas Water Development Board's estimate is 67 inches of water evaporation through that entire year. And so that's roughly 6.5 or 5.6 feet of water being evaporated off of our reservoirs.
All right, so although we do have some water right now, let's talk about conservation and why that's important for everyone to practice that right now.
So San Angelo needs to continually practice conservation, even though the majority of San Angeloans' mindset is to conserve water, because they've been at that 18 and 24 month time frame when we are enacting drought levels. But even though we're at 52 months of water supply, the weather forecast and all of those things are still not favorable for a lot of rain. So we need to be as conservation mindset as possible.
So something you were talking about earlier with Ivy, can you talk about, we're not the only water users that pull from that, and that there are other communities that pull from that? It's a kind of a regional water source.
Okay. San Angelo is not the only water system using water from Lake Ivy. So CRMWD, their member cities are Big Spring, Snyder, and Odessa, but also Midland and Abilene can all pull off Lake Ivy too. So it is our primary source, but it's also a primary source for many other cities in West Texas.
Tell us what point do the drought levels change? What's the deciding factor there?
The drought contingency plan is based off months of water supply. So as of August 1st, we're at 52 months of water supply. But our first drought level, it triggers at 24 months of water supply. The second one is at 18. And the third and final one is at 12 months of water supply. We have been in drought levels, the first two for sure, and almost went into the third one in back of 2011, 2012. But right now, those are the driving factors that put us into the different drought stages. But what San Angelo is always, they're not always in a drought stage, but they're in this stage called standard conservation. So we always limit the amount of watering that can occur, outdoor watering. And so we are always in some sort of mode of operation of conserving water.
So even though we haven't entered the drought stages, it's obviously still vitally important that we conserve water. Talk about some of those ways we can conserve.
There's easy ways around the home that you can conserve water, only running your dishwasher or your washing machine when the load is full or when the machine is full. You could, the tried and true of turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth. Reducing your shower by a minute or two can save a considerable amount of gallons, and also checking for toilet leaks and those type of things. Some customers don't realize how much water can be lost through just a small toilet leak, so always kind of making sure that you're keeping everything up to speed at your home and making sure there's no leaks, and then also just abiding by the outdoor watering schedule, which is, for right now, twice every 7 days at no more than 1 inch per week, and not between the hours of noon and 6 p.m.
So you segued into where I wanted to go next. Why, I think it's obvious, but why do we not want people watering between 12 and 6?
So we restrict the hours from noon to 6 p.m. because that is the hottest part of the day, and we want to make sure that the watering that customers are using for their lawns is effective towards the yard, and so we don't want it to be a loss to evaporation, so that's why we restrict the hours from noon to 6.
All right, so going back to identifying leaks, now some people might not know if they have leaks, but they could see, big spikes in their water bills and not know why. That actually happened to our household recently. So I contacted the water customer service department, and they were actually really helpful there. They took a look at our water bills from the past few months, and they went in, whatever intel they had there.
The metering system?
Yes, that. They went there and they were able to tell me that I had a leak somewhere. So it ended up being a toilet leak, and we had to go in and fix that. So that's something that people can do if you don't know where a leak is.
Correct. So if you call customer service and you think you have a leak or you've seen a spike in your water bill, you can definitely contact them, and they are able to see if that flow is going through at a continuous rate. Typically that's when we see a toilet leak or something like that, something that's kind of leaking 24/7. If you have an irrigation leak, sometimes that's not known until the sprinkler goes off, and sometimes people have them set, in the hours when they're sleeping, and so they can look at the consumption during those times. But yes, if you think you have a leak, you can call customer service, and then they could be able to help pinpoint and maybe kind of hone in where you could make that repair.
For more information, visit our website.